Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So I was reading the Bible the other day, as I am wont to do on very frequent occasions. Anyways, I'm reading John's Gospel, and John chapter 5 came across this story of this man who was crippled. He was at the pool of Bethesda, so it's in Jerusalem, and there's this idea that there was kind of a legend in the Old Testament, or in Jewish circles in that time, that when the waters were moved in the pool, that they had like healing properties to them. So anyways, the story is, in John chapter 5, that there's this man. He's been crippled for 38 years, and Jesus comes to him, and he realizes he's been crippled for 38 years, and Jesus asks him this question. And the question that he asks him can seem like on the surface, it can seem really kind of silly. It can seem really kind of unnecessary. But here's the thing about Jesus. He never asks silly or unnecessary questions at all. But on the surface, it looks kind of like, seriously? That's your question, Jesus? So this man, again, keep this in mind. He has been sick. He's been crippled for 38 years. And Scripture says, John says, Jesus, knowing he has been sick for a long time, asks him this question. The question is, do you want to be well? Again, on the surface, for us, we might be like, I'm going to go with it, Jesus, because you're Jesus and everything. But like, that seems like, duh, of course, no brainer. But it's not. It completely is not. He asks the man, do you want to be well? Why? Because yes, this man's sickness, this man's pain, this man's being crippled for 38 years, I imagine just grinds him down. If you've been sick for that long, whether it's spiritually or physically, you know what it's like to say, okay, gosh, oh my Lord, please help me. And then to receive no healing, to receive no alleviation of that pain, of that suffering, it can be demoralizing, it can be crushing, it can be destroying. But the reality, at the same time, it's familiar. Right, at the same time, it can be painful, but it's still comfortable in some ways because it's what I'm used to. And sometimes we would rather hold on to what we're used to than allow what's causing us deep pain to be taken away. Because then what? Then we have to change. I mean, this is the reality. This man, yes, he's been crippled for 38 years. Yes, all he knows is this pain, and all he knows is this crippling thing, and all he knows is begging. Here's Jesus saying, do you want me to make you well? Do you want to be well? Why? Because what he's basically saying is, if I take this away, you have to let me take it away. Like if I make you well, you have to let me take it away. You're going to have to live a whole new life. If you actually let me take away this thing, you're going to have to also leave behind the comfort. Again, keep in mind that this dichotomy or this paradox of the great pain can ultimately become comfortable. Now, here's where I pause just a second. You might be thinking like, what? That doesn't seem to make any sense. How would anyone take comfort in their wound? How would they take comfort in their pain? Take comfort in a life of just a lot of misery? And the answer is we all do it all the time. Because so many of us, what do? We define ourselves either by our weaknesses or by our wins, right? We define ourselves by our strengths or by our wounds. Like it's something we do all the time. So if I find myself, this is a big temptation for those who have experienced chronic illness. One of your temptations is, yeah, that's me. That's part of my experience, and it's not going to go away. For those of you who experience a lot of health and a lot of beauty or a lot of intelligence, you can define yourself by that kind of thing. And so in this case, it's his weakness. In this case, it's his being crippled. You can imagine that after 38 years, this man has allowed that wound to give him his identity. And Jesus is saying, okay, do you want to be well? Because if you do, that means I take it away. That means you can't hold on to this thing that's very comfortable in your life anymore. It means you're going to have to change. And this is like the thing where it comes down for us, right? The thing where what it comes down for us is the very first requirement. Well, I don't know. You say, well, what's the first requirement for conversion? Humility, or it's honesty, or whatever. I would say this: the very first requirement for conversion is a willingness to change. Like that's the first prerequisite, is a willingness to change. Because I can't actually be converted unless I'm willing to be converted, right? I can't, because to be converted ultimately means I'm going to change. So I can't be changed unless I'm willing to be changed, which means I have to be willing to let go of some things that I've allowed to define me. Because even if those things are wounds, even if those things are painful, even if those things are struggles, at some point, it's so weird how this works, but they become comfortable wounds and comfortable pains and comfortable struggles. And yet every single one of us has to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And this is maybe one of the secrets of the Christian life. One of the secrets of following after Jesus is that he comes to you and to me and he says, okay, I know what you're carrying. I know whether this is a momentary sin, momentary weakness. I know whether this is like a persistent thing in your life. Do you actually want me to make you well? Now, keep in mind, how Jesus wants to make us well might not be how we want to be made well. But what he's saying and inviting and asking is, are you willing to be changed? Not just let me take away this wound, let me take away this weakness, let me take away the suffering. That sometimes happens. But what he's ultimately saying is, are you willing to allow me to take away what is the old man, what's dead in you, and make you new, make you alive again? And if I'm unwilling to change, then the answer to that question is, no, I do not want to be well. No, I do not want to be made well. It actually is a genuine question. It is not a silly question. It is not an unnecessary question. It's a question every one of us has to answer almost on a daily basis. Why? Because the Christian life is a call to continual conversion, which means if I'm the kind of person who doesn't like change, then I need to get my mind and my heart wrapped around the reality that to follow Jesus is to change. To be alive is to change. To be dead is to cease to change is to be dead. So here we are. On this day, the Lord just steps into your life. The one who conquered death, the one who conquers your sin and my sin, the one who conquers what is painful in our lives, even if it's comfortable in our lives. And he asks us this question: do you want to be well? Do you give me permission to take away what is hurting you and to make you new? And then don't answer automatically. Think about it, pray about it. And only if you and I are willing to change can we say, yes, I do want to be made well. God, change me. And his grace is so powerful. Again, his grace conquered death. His grace conquered sin. His grace has conquered the evil one. His grace has conquered everything. His life and his death, his resurrection can conquer what hurts you, what confines you, what holds you back. We have to answer this question. Do you want to be well? Do I want to be well? Lord, I do. Do whatever it is that needs to be done in my life, even if it means taking away my comfort. My brother and sister Christian, become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Be open to change, because without it, it's impossible to follow Jesus. For all of us here at Ascension Presents, my name is Father Mike. God bless. Hey, like, subscribe. I've been trying to comment. I've been trying to interact a little bit more, but man, time is limited, so I try to write some things in the comment boxes after people ask questions and stuff, but yeesh, that would be a job. That'd be a whole other job. Man, oh man. Anyways, God bless.